Well, hello retro computing enthusiasts. Welcome back to my channel. Mike here. Time for another episode of PC Archaeology with Mike. So, what have we here? This board came into my hands a little while ago, and it is a bit of a mystery to me. I have no idea what this really is. I mean, I have some suspicions, but really I don't know what it is. I have not been able to find any info on it anywhere. It's a very interesting board. Calling this PC Archaeology maybe a little bit of a misnomer. This obviously went into a big rack, probably with a whole lot of other boards, and it kind of has the look of telecom equipment about it. But on the other hand, I don't know. It may not be telecom equipment. I'm not sure what it is. So I'm hoping someone out there in my audience will recognize this board and tell me what it is. You know, on my main channel, Omega Geek 64, I render down old boards like this for their gold and silver content and other precious metals, palladium, whatnot. But not every board that comes through my hands gets immediately rendered down. This one was way too interesting. What really intrigued me about it to start with was it's got a 6502 processor on it over here. Okay. I thought, if nothing else, well, maybe I could harvest the processor and a few other chips off of this board and build myself a breadboard 6502 system, which is something I've always wanted to get into on this channel. You know, I've got a breadboard Z80 system I'm working on, the Jazz 80 computer, and I'll put a link to that playlist up here in the upper right if you're interested. And I would like to get into the 6502 architecture too. But you know, the more I looked at this board, the more intrigued I was by it. It's a very interesting board, and I'll show you some of the interesting details on this board. And you know, maybe it's just idle curiosity on my part, but I would like to know what this board was used for. And it seems to be in really, really good condition, which is another reason it hasn't immediately been broken down. Okay, a lot of the boards I get are smashed. They're obsolete beyond any possible use. You know, they've been cherry-picked already for parts. But this thing is like pristine. It's absolutely pristine. It looks to be in really good condition. It's possible somebody out there could actually use this board as a spare in whatever system this was in. So I'm not in a huge hurry to break it down. And I'm hoping somebody in the audience can identify it and tell me exactly what it is and what it was used for. And hopefully somebody out there might actually have a need for it. Just get in touch with me and we'll do a deal if you can use it. So I'll show you some of the features of this board, and maybe, just maybe, somebody out there can identify it, tell me, you know, what it was used for, what sort of system it was in, and whether there's any use for it. Okay? So let me zoom in on some of the features of this board. It's a big board. It's a very big board. It's about 19 inches, a little under 19 inches by 13 inches. So it's a very large board. Very interesting. It's a fairly old board. The date codes on the IC chips range from 1978 to 1980. I haven't looked at every chip, but they all seem to be in that date code range, 1978 to 1980. So fairly old. The 6502 itself has a date code of 1978 on it. In fact, the second week of 1978, so January of 1978 it was made. It's got, looks like 3 EEPROM chips. I have not peeled the labels off to see what sort of EEPROMs there are. This one might actually just be a mask ROM. I can't really tell if there's a window under it, but I think these two might be EEPROMs. This one could be a mask ROM. It looks like it's plastic rather than ceramic. They have numbers on them, which I assume correspond to their position in memory. So I assume this would be the boot ROM, since this one's up in high memory. It is AA36. So this may go all the way to the top of memory from there. So this probably has the boot code in it, because I know that the 6502 boots from high memory. I'm sorely tempted, actually, to just pop a monitor ROM into this thing, a 6502 monitor ROM, and see if I can boot it up and get any life out of it. But it's going to take a lot of reverse engineering to figure out where everything is, because there's a lot going on this board, okay? So aside from the processor and the 3 ROMs, we've got some dynamic RAM over here. And you'll notice there's 18 chips here. So we've got RAM with parity. So we've got an extra chip for an extra parity bit. So we got 9 bits of RAM in 2 banks of 4K. So these are old AM9060 EPC 4K by 1 dynamic RAM chips in 2 banks of 9. So basically we've got 8K of 9 bits of RAM. There's another interesting chip here. This is a 93419-PC 64 by 9 static RAM chip. So again, we've got the parity bit in there. So this unit used parity in its memory. Over here we have 8 UARTs, and these are older model UARTs. These are IM6402 IPL UARTs. Very similar to the UART in the Nabu that I have been playing around with, the Nabu computer. And I'll put a link to my Nabu playlist in the upper right if you're interested in seeing that. Not quite identical, but a very similar architecture, okay? And from a very similar era as the UART in the Nabu. And there's 8 of them here. So, you know, that was another thing about my idea of maybe putting a 6502 monitor ROM in this thing and seeing if I could boot it up, because I could probably get console out of one of these UARTs, but it's going to take a lot of reverse engineering to figure out how these things are addressed. There are going to be memory maps somewhere, because that's how the 6502 does things. It's memory mapped. But I'm looking at this board. I don't even know if these UARTs are controlled by this processor. There's an awful lot of pins down here, and a lot of the UART pins go out these edge connectors. It's very possible some other board in the system is controlling those UARTs, and it's not even being controlled by the 6502 on this board. So, I don't know. Like I said, it's going to take a lot of reverse engineering to figure that out. So for now, I'm just leaving this board sit. I'm not trying to do anything with it myself. It's got, interestingly, it's got 3 74LS154 chips on here, which I assume are being used for address decoding. So they are 4 to 16 decoders. So we've got 3 of them. So that means we should be able to decode up to 48 different devices. Now, I'm having a hard time believing there's 48 different things that need decoded on this board. Yeah, we got 8 UARTs, we got 2 banks of RAM, we got 3 EEPROMs, and we got some static RAM here, which may be stack RAM. I don't know, but still, that doesn't add up to 48. So I don't know what all those 74LS154s are being used for. Hard to say. Got 2 different clocks on here. We got an 8.064 megahertz clock here, and we've got a crystal here that's stamped 5.8. So I am not sure which of these is driving the CPU. They're both way too fast for that chip, so one or the other one must be divided down to provide the clock for the 6502. Got a lot of glue logic over here, a lot of glue logic over here. Got a bunch of LEDs along this side over here. They would be facing out of the rack, so there must be some sort of status LEDs. Got some test points over here, well, nice multicolored test points, and a reset switch. There really isn't much in the way of markings on this board. There is DCC. It looks like D. Yeah, I guess that's a D. CC in very stylized lettering. There's some number down here that's kind of covered up by bodge wires going over it, which I'm kind of reluctant to break loose, but it looks like 50 something 626. L.S.LPU-8 line. Well, 8 line, that makes sense because it's got 8 UARTs. It could be some sort of modem board. That's a good possibility. Another board in the rack might have had all of the telephone interface stuff on it, the matching transformers, the isolation transformers, the relays, the whatnot. That might have been on another board in the rack, and this could have been, you know, a modem. Or it could be part of an 8-line PBX system. I don't know. It's very hard to say. Although PBXs don't generally need UARTs. So that's why I'm leaning towards modem. So I don't know, an 8-line modem, possibly. Got two very large edge card connectors on it with gold-plated fingers, plated on both sides. There's a lot of lines going out or coming in on those fingers. Like I say, the board is very good looking for its age. Both sides of the board are in really good shape. There's very little in the way of damage to it. A few of the capacitors are kind of bent over, but it doesn't look like any of the leads are broken. And I wish I could read that number that's covered by bodge wires on there. This board has a fair number of bodge wires on it. I'll zoom in so you can see some of them. Yeah. It's an early revision, obviously. It says revision AB right here. So, who knows? There may not have been another revision. Maybe this was as far as they got, you know? And they never came out with another board with all these bodge revisions built in. Who knows? It has been refurbished. It says it was refurbished in 1993. So this was in use for a considerable length of time, from when it was built in probably 80 or 81, I would guess, from the date codes on the chips, until it was refurbished in 1993. And it may have only been taken out of service recently, for all I know. Does it work? No clue, since I don't even know what it's for. So, yeah, hard to say. But it's a very interesting board. It's got a lot of neat chips on it. Certainly, a lot of these could go into building a nice 6502 retro computer. But like I said earlier, if there's any actual use for this board as its original function, let me know, and maybe I can get it to you, and you know, put it back into service. I would hate to take apart a board that's actually useful to somebody and could go back into useful service. But there are a lot of interesting chips on this board that could be salvaged and reused, and certainly would make for an interesting retro computing project. Well, all right. I hope you found this PC Archaeology with Mike video interesting. If so, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to see my future retro computing videos. They're coming out fast and furious these days. And press that little bell icon YouTube wants you to press to be notified when new videos come out. Check out my main channel, Omega Geek 64. There's interesting stuff going on over there where boards not quite as interesting as or useful as this get broken down, and their silver and gold is recovered from them. And I will see you in future videos. Thanks a lot for watching this one. Bye.